Hi everyone, a very good evening to everyone joining us for this live session with ThePrint. Today's discussion, or the topic of discussion for today, is can WhatsApp ensure data privacy and security of its users? Why are we talking about this today and why is it relevant for now? Well, just today reports have revealed that as many as a dozen Indians, including journalists, academics, and Dalit activists had been targeted by the spyware which was installed in WhatsApp. Of course, WhatsApp has also taken measures to alert these the WhatsApp users that were affected by this spyware, and has, taken care of it and gotten rid of abilities which led this spyware to spy basically on the select number of Indian WhatsApp users. However, the question now is not just that, WhatsApp is also fighting back against this spyware, and the maker of this spyware saying that this particular spyware maker should also be held responsible. It's their way of saying this by suing this particular company. The name of the company is NSO Group. It's based in Israel, and they are supposedly one of the most sophisticated makers of the best in surveillance spyware. The name of the spyware is Pegasus, and reportedly it works in a very, very sophisticated way and a very covert way that nobody would really even know that it's installed on the phone. So to begin with, how does Pegasus work? Well, there is a WhatsApp video call that a user might receive, and then the worst part, or even the scariest part, is a WhatsApp user does not even need to answer this call. Once the call is received, the spyware can make its way through the phone and access a various number of private data from the phone, such as, there's a whole list of things that can be accessed, such as passwords, contact lists, calendar events, text messages, and live voice calls from popular mobile messaging apps. And one of the even more dangerous things about this spyware is that whoever is operating this spyware, which is called Pegasus, once again made by a company called NSO Group, is capable of manipulating the phone from this remote location. A victim or a target's camera and microphone can be switched on, and whoever is operating this spyware can use that spyware to locate or monitor the whereabouts of the user, which in itself is pretty scary, because some of the Indian targets of this spyware, which was enabled through WhatsApp, has even alleged that the government, that is the Indian government, may have used this spyware to plant letters cited as evidence in the Bhima Koregaon case, which is in itself is something to think about, if it is true. So now let's take some questions. Okay, Shreyas says, asks, what about end-to-end encryption? Okay, so since we're talking about if WhatsApp can really ensure security and privacy, no matter how many times WhatsApp says that it cares about users, which by the way numbers at least 1 billion users, what about end-to-end encryption? Yes, WhatsApp does have end-to-end encryption, which means that nobody in the middle can see what is going on. It's just the sender and the receiver. So that is in place. But what was exploited by this particular spyware, or the vulnerability in WhatsApp, was not necessarily related to just the end-to-end encryption. It was another loophole or a vulnerability that the spyware injected itself into via the video calls. And one of the things about WhatsApp and end-to-end encryption that we really have to mention at this juncture is that somewhere in 2017, the UK's Guardian posted or published a story saying governments may have access to backdoors in WhatsApp. And the best part is who came to the defense of WhatsApp. See, there are a number of other encrypted apps that are gaining in popularity because many people think that WhatsApp is vulnerable and is too much of a risk to use. So one of these other encrypted apps that's currently gaining popularity is Signal, and Signal published a blog post saying that WhatsApp does not have any such backdoors that can be manipulated by the government, and that WhatsApp actually uses the same protocol or the same method of encrypting its messages that Signal uses, which is an indication that, hey, if you think Signal is safe, then WhatsApp's end-to-end encryption should be pretty safe too. And when it comes to the spyware that was located and that has been taken care of, WhatsApp has already said that it's gotten rid of it, and whoever was affected, which numbers about 1,400 users globally, has been alerted, including the dozen or so users in India. Okay, and the next question is this limited to Android devices or iOS devices? If you mean the spyware, the Pegasus software, which could make its way through the WhatsApp video calls, it's not just limited to one section. It could be exploited through both Android and iOS as far as we're aware. And the next question is, how can the spyware be installed through WhatsApp when Android prevents third-party installs in their phones? It's not necessarily the same method of installing third-party applications. It's not really the same things. The spyware in this case is a little different. It exploits this loophole or something that in the video calls or in the signals, and then injects itself into the video call, and that's how it makes its way through. You can't necessarily equal or it's not the same thing if there is a third-party company that's trying to install something versus a malware. In this case, this example is the spyware trying to activate itself via a video call. The next question is a good one. Does this question WhatsApp's credibility? I think it does question WhatsApp's credibility. That's why they're coming out with all these preventive measures. Not only have they publicly taken the action of announcing to people that they have informed 1,400 or so users worldwide about who has been infected by this. They have done that, and in addition, now that they are publicizing the fact that they're suing the company who has made the spyware, says a lot about how WhatsApp wants this company to be held responsible for these spying actions and for the abuse of the spyware, as well as the abuse of the WhatsApp platform, because there's only so much even WhatsApp or any company can do. And bear in mind, it's not just WhatsApp that was vulnerable to this spyware. SMS links have also been sent via this spyware. So has website links. So not just WhatsApp. If there's a spyware and it's injected to it's likely it could exploit almost any kind of platform, not just WhatsApp. So that's about it when it comes to WhatsApp. And also WhatsApp has mentioned something else, and they're calling for support from not just from within the organization of WhatsApp, but also from outside institutions, saying, calling for their support to say NSO groups should be held accountable for some of the surveillance and spying that is going on. Because after all, it is NSO groups' products that are being used to invade the privacy of people. Bearing in mind that this spyware, when it's installed in phones, the user does not even know that. In fact, this spyware is so sophisticated that antivirus may not even detect it. So WhatsApp is saying some of the accountability should be shifted to NSO group, because their products have been used to manipulate and invade people's privacy and to spy on people for a much longer time, even before WhatsApp's incident was publicized in May 2019. Even as far back as 2016, NSO Group's spyware has been used to spy on people. And even in addition, even a UN Special Rapporteur for Freedom of Expression David Kaye, has asked for a stop or a temporary prohibition of such activities of spying on people, especially of human rights activists, journalists, of politicians, academics, of people who fight for the rights and for equality in this world, and for governments to stop in some countries where governments are impeding on the privacy and the rights of such journalists, to stop this, to stop using spyware to invade people's privacies and sometimes even endanger their lives. So this is what UN's Freedom of Expression Special Rapporteur David Kaye has said. He also says that there must be a strong legal oversight of cyber weapons like the one used in this particular attack on WhatsApp, and ensure that such software is not violating individual rights and freedom of people who deserve to be free and who deserve their privacy wherever they are in the world. And in addition, WhatsApp has also said that they have, when they sued NSO Group, they have said that they want a permanent injunction banning NSO from using their service. And one of the biggest questions that comes into mind is, since NSO Group says that they only sell to governments and government clients, the biggest question is, who is going to be responsible for all of this spying? Who is using this spyware? At the end of the day, if NSO Group is saying that they are selling only to government clients, and are we to suspect governments that are spying on its citizens? That's another question. That's a huge mystery that needs to be solved in coming days, hopefully. So are there other questions that we would like to take? Yes, I think there are. Okay. So we have a couple of questions that came in while I was rambling on. Are there chances that phone companies can also be responsible in this? Not as far as anyone has said anything. No expert has come out and said that Android should be responsible, or the makers of the Android operating system, or the Apple phone makers or iPhone operating system makers should be responsible for this. It's spyware. It's a hack. These things happen. It shouldn't happen, but it does happen. For most experts who work in cybersecurity, they would say the best thing, of course, is prevention, and after that, there's no point in necessarily beating yourself up about it, but you need to take preventive measures and ensure that it never happens, which in this case might be difficult if it is someone who is deliberately trying to encroach on someone's privacy and has built some really great technology that is really hard to beat. So no one has really come out and said that the phone company should be blamed for this, and perhaps at this moment it might not be fair to say that that companies or operating systems should be blamed for this as well. This was simply an oversight, a vulnerability that was exploited by an entity that was trying to spy. Another question from Shivanandan is Apple and Google going to ban WhatsApp? I really don't think that's even possible. If Apple and Google, well, Google you might mean like on the Android operating system, on the Play Store and on the Apple Store. I don't think that's even a possibility, because at least 1 billion people around the world use WhatsApp. It's just not, I don't think that would be a good idea if you ban WhatsApp. I mean, where are we all going to go if someone bans WhatsApp? All of our groups run on WhatsApp, which is probably why these people with bad intentions or people with intentions to spy actually targeted WhatsApp, because so many people use it. So no, I don't think they're going to ban it. It's not necessary to ban it. I mean, even if you ban it, something else, some other messaging app that you're using will probably be exploited. So the next question is going to ban WhatsApp, and is its impact will it, okay, will this impact privacy of its users? it does impact privacy of WhatsApp users. That's why WhatsApp is taking so many measures to make sure that they're doing the best they can in this situation, and this is probably why they came out with the fact that they're suing this other company to make sure that the UN and other academics and other groups around the world realize that it's not just WhatsApp that is to be faulted at this. It's actually there are other people that should be held responsible, because at the end of the day, if WhatsApp takes all of the flack for something that they think is not their responsibility, then it might not be good for WhatsApp's future businesses. Of course, there have been other concerns about WhatsApp's privacy, especially now that WhatsApp is trying to monetize its platform. There have been some indications that WhatsApp is trying to place advertisements inside the app so that WhatsApp users can have targeted advertisements. I mean, if that happens, then to some experts and to some, this indicates that WhatsApp is not as private or is not as encrypted as it says it is. So that's something to think about right there. But so far, there's nothing to say that WhatsApp is, worth banning for. Mohana Basu asks, how can users protect themselves from such breaches? That's a very interesting question. There really is very little an individual user can do to protect themselves. Perhaps you can limit your use of messaging apps, or perhaps you can not send so much of your important information over messaging apps. There's really very little like a user can do. I mean, you can try to find another app that will protect WhatsApp and then protect something else, but at the end of the day, all of those can be exploited. So there's very little an end user can do to protect themselves other than limit what they share online, because there really is no guarantee once you put out an electronic message that it's going to be 100% secure and that nobody else other than your intended recipient is going to see it. Another question is, should people uninstall WhatsApp? You could try doing that and see how your life runs. If it works out for you, that's really great. Maybe you can stick to SMSs, but then again, bear in mind that spyware was also used to spyware also sent these malicious URLs and links via SMSs in Mexico. So, I mean, if you have a mobile phone and if it is connected to the internet in some way, or if it is connected to a telecom provider, service provider, then your chances of protecting yourself, even if you stop using WhatsApp, are kind of limited. And also, see, in India, there are approximately, I believe, about 400 million WhatsApp users, and out of that, only about a dozen or so, according to reports, that have been affected. So it's not like the spyware is intentionally trying to monitor or surveil or snoop on every individual using WhatsApp. Many of us are safe from surveillance and snooping. It's just the few of them with inclinations towards defending privacy and defending human rights, such as the human rights activists, Dalit activists, as they said, academics, journalists, lawyers, and people who deal in policy perhaps that are at most risk. Another question is, are there any alternative platforms to WhatsApp? There are many. Too many, in fact, to name at this moment, but among the encrypted applications, encrypted messaging apps, of course, there's WhatsApp. Another one that is becoming really popular is Telegram. Of course, Signal is another encrypted app. You can try that as well. If you may have noticed, there are a number of politicians and a number of public figures that are moving to Telegram and Signal at this point. So those are rising in popularity, but once again, there is no guarantee that you are going to be safe just because you switch to another app, which is probably what WhatsApp is kind of afraid of at this point, and they're taking any and every measure to make sure that there is awareness that there is a larger player out there who's trying to wreak havoc on people's privacy, and it's not just about WhatsApp or WhatsApp that is to be banned. And of course, there are so many other messaging platforms that people use on a daily basis. Facebook has Facebook Messenger, Instagram has the DMs. People communicate via Twitter as well on the DMs. That happens quite a lot with journalists and academics and people that, the typical people who have been at high risk for being targeted by WhatsApp spyware. Of course, there are like plenty of other. TikTok, once again, I guess you could maybe communicate via video messages. Snapchat is another way of communicating. There are just too many platforms that you can reach out to download and communicate on. Okay, so I think that was the last question. Like, what are the alternatives to WhatsApp in case you need them? The biggest ones right now are Signal and Telegram. But once again, there have been some incidents related to Telegram as well. And as a parting note, let me just also add that Edward Snowden, the whistleblower from NSA, who made privacy like a huge debating topic, has said that Telegram is not as secure as most people think it is as well. So on that note, WhatsApp is still in the spotlight for whether it can protect its user privacy and the data of its users. WhatsApp is doing everything it can, definitely at that point. So that's about it. We're wrapping things up for now. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to join us tomorrow at the same time for a discussion and a Q&A session on whatever is topical tomorrow. Thank you. And of course, this is Regina Mihindukulasuriya for ThePrint. And don't forget to subscribe to our videos on YouTube, and generally keep tabs on us on all of our social media platforms. We're everywhere basically.